I am extra excited about this video because I'm making one of those desserts that I've always wanted to make. The first time I had a bite of this cake, it was introduced to me by my best friend and she knew I was hooked. And that cake, if you're wondering, is a limoncello cake coming up right here on the Sweet Spot. Cake has beautiful flavors in it, and it's a very simple batter to make. We're going to start with adding our butter to a mixer and getting it all creamed out. So just adding all of my butter in there, and we're going to blend this or whip this on medium to medium high until that butter's nice and smooth and creamy. Now that my butter's nice and smooth and whipped, we're going to add the sugar, and then we're just going to whip the sugar and butter together, once again on medium to medium high until it comes together and creates the base for our batter. My butter and sugar are all blended together. I'm gonna pause at my mixer for a second. And if you've been watching my videos, you're probably wondering, okay, he did not mix the dry ingredients. Yes, I'm gonna pause and do that now. So I have my flour here. I'm gonna add my baking powder, my baking soda, and my salt. You may be asking yourself, well, why couldn't I just do that or throw that into the blend just one at a time? Pre-mixing your flour along with your other dry ingredients allows even distribution throughout your batter. Sometimes if you throw it into the batter, you throw like your baking powder into the wet ingredients, you could get clumps of baking powder and you get like this really taste of sodium that kind of burns your tongue a little bit. So pre-mixing your dry ingredients is essential to getting all of those to blend evenly and mix evenly throughout your batter. So we're gonna mix this together and then set this aside. Okay, so dry ingredients are done. We're gonna start adding our eggs, and I'm gonna add my eggs in 2 at a time. So we're gonna get 2 of them in there. Oops, a little bit left behind. And okay, we're gonna mix this on medium until the eggs are fully incorporated, and then I'm gonna add my other 2 eggs until that's incorporated. All right, so scraping down the sides of your bowl is essential because sometimes those chunks of butter like to get up under that batter. So I constantly scrape using a spatula the sides of my bowl. What I'm going to do next is finish building my batter. So I have my sour cream. We're going to add in our sour cream. All of that. All right, I'm going to put that aside. My lemon zest, which gives that cake that strong essence of lemon because all of that lemon flavor is really locked in that lemon zest. That's where all of the natural oils and flavor of the lemon are. We're also going to add our vanilla, our lemon juice, and of course that magic ingredient, the limoncello. All right, so we're going to mix this batter on medium until it's nice and combined and smooth. Now in this step, because of the lemon juice, you may see the butter separate a little bit. Don't worry, because once we add our flour, it's all gonna come back together. It's time to start adding in our dry ingredients, but we're gonna rotate them in with the buttermilk. So you wanna do about 1/3 of the flour into your wet ingredients. You're putting in the dry ingredients. 1/3 of the flour into your wet ingredients in that mixer. You're gonna mix on medium until it's nice and combined, and then we're gonna rotate in 1/3 of the buttermilk. All right, so my flour's done. I'm gonna add in 1/3 of the buttermilk and then mix that on medium and continue that rotation, flour, buttermilk, flour, buttermilk. My batter is done. I'm just gonna remove my paddle here, put that over there. Bring in my baking pans here. I've already prepared them with parchment paper and lightly floured. Just gonna remove my bowl from the mixer. And what I like to do is do one last kind of swipe down the sides, fold under the bottom, just to make sure the batter is completely combined. We're gonna take this spatula and put aside. I wanna just dive into this batter. It smells so good. I love lemon flavor. So just the size of the pans, there's several ways you can go. You could do the batter's enough to do 2 9-inch rounds, or 2 or 3 8-inch rounds, or like me, you could do 3 7-inch rounds. And the reason why I chose to do the 3 7-inch rounds is because they give me a higher layer, well, a taller layer, because I want a taller cake to really, it's more aesthetics for me, but it just depends, like however you want to do it, just so you know the batter is enough to kind of play around with the different sizes. So I like to scoop in even amounts of batter into each pan by using just a ladle. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ladle in probably 2 to 3 ladles to start out in each one. And just going around, do that same amount in each pan until my batter is completely gone. So we got 3 in there, and then we're gonna do 3 again in here. You can, if you like, you can pour directly from your mixing bowl. If you wanna eyeball it, it's just for me, it helps me believe that I have them a little bit more even if I spoon them in. So I'm gonna even these out, and then we're gonna put these into the oven. My 3 7-inch cake pans are completely filled with batter. Now you're gonna put this in the 350-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. With that, let me preface, I've found with the smaller cake rounds, because there's more batter inside of these and it's not as spread out, sometimes they take a few more minutes to bake. So I've had 7-inch rounds go up to 30 minutes, but I always set my timer for 20 and add additional if I need to, because you're gonna bake these until they're firm, or an inserted toothpick comes out clean. That's probably the best measure if they're done, if I can speak correctly. All right, so we're gonna pop these in the oven, and I will tell you, I tasted the batter. I just had to lick the bowl, and it tastes amazing, so I can't wait to get these all baked. My cakes are out of the oven. They're cooling right behind me. It's time to start making our limoncello buttercream with mascarpone. It's gonna be so good, creamy and smooth to layer on top of that delicious limoncello cake. So the first thing we're gonna do is take our butter and add to our mixing bowl. So we're gonna add all of that butter. And we're gonna pre-whip the butter. So I'm gonna add my whipping attachment here, and we're gonna whip this on medium to medium high until this is nice and smooth. All right, so I've whipped my butter. I've scraped down the sides of my bowl. We're gonna add all of that mascarpone cheese to our butter and cream those two together. So just add it all in. I like to get it all, so I wanna make sure I get all of that mascarpone in there. Then we're gonna add our whipping attachment on again, and we're gonna cream this or whip this together on medium to medium high until those are smooth. My butter and mascarpone cheese are all blended together. I'm gonna start adding some of the confectioner sugar. Now, I add a little bit at a time, and this is pre-sifted confectioner sugar, so that helps you avoid the lumps. So just adding about 1/3 at a time, getting that nice and whipped together. We're gonna add our whipping attachment here. And once again, I do this on probably medium low to medium. I don't want the confectioner sugar going everywhere until you see that confectioner sugar really start to create that nice buttercream texture with the butter and mascarpone. I scrape down the sides of the bowl once again, and I'm going to add more of that confectioner sugar. As you all know, I'm from New Orleans, and I can talk really fast, and sentences become one word. So I try to slow down sometimes because I know you might be like, what did he just say? But anyway, we're gonna blend this on medium once again until that confectioner sugar and that butter and mascarpone start to create that buttercream texture. All right, I'm gonna add the remaining confectioner sugar to the bowl. And then we're gonna blend that, and then we're gonna start using our liquid ingredients to start smoothing that buttercream out a little more. It might be a little thick right now, but we're gonna start smoothing it out in just a second. I've scraped down my bowl once again, just to make sure there's nothing underneath sitting at the bottom, because confectioner sugar and chunks of butter love to hide at the bottom of your mixing bowl. So I'm gonna move a couple of things around here. And we're gonna start adding a few ingredients. So I'm gonna add my limoncello, which is gonna give us that beautiful limoncello flavor, my vanilla, to add that little hint, and then my pinch of salt. If you like a little more salt in your buttercream, you can put more. I like a little pinch of salt just to balance it out. And then we're gonna put our mixer, not blender, mixer, on medium to medium high until that's nice and smooth. My limoncello mascarpone buttercream is all done. I'm just taking my spatula and just whipping it up. Now note, the texture is not going to be as smooth and as whipped as a traditional buttercream because you have that mascarpone cheese. So kind of think of tiramisu, that texture of the layer of mascarpone cheese inside of tiramisu. That's what you're gonna get with this, because you're just creating a nice smooth layer of this buttercream, or this limoncello mascarpone buttercream, in between those layers, just to balance out that tart sweetness of the cake. So I'm gonna move some of this aside, and we'll start layering and finishing up our cake. I cleaned off my workspace so I had room to frost, or build my cakes, if you will. So I have my frosting here, or buttercream. I have my cakes that I've trimmed. Now if you want a leveled cake, it's up to you. Just use a serrated knife and trim the top. But I have my 3 layers that I've trimmed. And we're just gonna start building, and just take a heaping amount of that limoncello mascarpone buttercream. And like I said, remember, we're doing a thicker layer because we really want a lot of that mascarpone buttercream to really balance out the layers in this cake. And I may have put a little too much, but that's okay. I can actually just take some off. I got overzealous because I was like, oh my God, I want some of that frosting in my mouth right now. So I'm just gonna take a little off, and we're gonna balance it out. But you do want a pretty good layer of that frosting in between each layer of cake. So as you can see, I'm just smoothing out, running my icing knife around the cake, and just trying to get it as even as possible, and just smooth it out. Turning, if you have a turning wheel, just like kind of smoothing and turning helps you like get the frosting or buttercream or icing, whatever you want to say, more balanced and more even, and you can even eyeball it. So for me, this looks pretty even. So I am just going to add my next layer, and a good trick is turning it over and getting a bottom so it's a little bit smooth. And as you can see, I have a good amount of that buttercream in between those 2 layers. So we're just gonna add some on top of here, and you can see how this buttercream is much, much smoother because it has that mascarpone cheese in it. So it's not gonna be as firm. But once again, just creating a nice layer. Remember, don't be shy in between the cake, because this really balances it out. And you can actually do thick layers on the side. When my frosting or buttercream is a little bit on the thinner side, like this one, I like to do a nude illusion cake. So when I get to the sides, you're gonna see it's not gonna be as much of that buttercream or frosting on the side of the cake. It's all gonna be in between those beautiful limoncello cake layers. All right, so I am going to finish building my cake all I have to do is add my top layer, and then we're gonna finish this one off, add that top layer, and then smooth everything out. So as you can see, I just finished my top layer, smoothing it out. And what I like to do is before going around the sides, I just take whatever is like hanging over the edges and smooth that on the cake. So remember, we're doing like this nude illusion cake. So you don't want to add a ton of the buttercream to the sides of your cake. So first take whatever extra is hanging off the sides. Sometimes I'll take a large spatula so I can get the whole side at once, but this will still work. And you see, I'm just smoothing it out, and then I'm gonna go back in and add that buttercream where I need it. So look at this spot. See, I don't really need to go back in because that already gave me that nude illusion with just the frosting that's on the cake. So I'm gonna keep just doing that all the way around, and then I'll add back in if I need to create that nude illusion around the entire cake. As you can see, I've completely finished covering the limoncello cake with that mascarpone limoncello buttercream, and you can see that nude illusion where I have thick layers of the buttercream in the middle of the cake, a good layer on top, and that nude illusion on the side. What I like to do is add a little decoration. You can do whatever you want. I took all the extra buttercream here and made a little piping bag. I'm just gonna pipe a few designs around the cake just to give it a little flair. I absolutely cannot wait to get a piece of this cake, so I'm ready to slice into it so we can see what's inside. It smells so good, and that knife is just slicing through it so smooth. All right, here we go. Let's get that slice out of there. Look at that. Let's get it on the plate. I don't want to topple it over, but look at that. Oh my God, doesn't that look delicious? I can't wait to sink my teeth into this slice of cake. I want to say thank you once again for coming into my kitchen and sharing a great experience with me and allowing me to share some of the desserts that I love. I hope you make these at home, love it just as much as I do. Come back and see me. I have more to bring to you right here on The Sweet Spot.